Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our series of webinars focused on this notion of line of sight, helping employees see their impact on gaining and retaining more customers. So today we want to address the question, what if your paycheck was directly linked to gaining and retaining more customers? So in some recent seminars, we asked HR professionals what they felt like their role in the organization was. What were they in charge of? And almost to a person, they said things like they were in charge of the people processes within the organization. They were the heartbeat of the organization, drove the culture of the organization. All exceptionally true. And really, we're a very vital part to the organization. We know this because Gallup proves year after year that those organizations that connect to engagement are far better than those that don't in terms of their performance. And that's the same thing with the Fortune 100 top places to work. A couple of days ago, I went to speak with some senior leaders in organizations that were non-HR, right? Mostly chief financial officers. And when I asked them about what they felt like the role of HR was within the organization, some of them said risk mitigation, making sure that we don't have too many worker comp claims. Or making sure that unions didn't form within our organization. And some of them said things like, it's kind of a hygiene issue. It's a necessary thing to have. So what's the disconnect? If we know that HR makes a difference, and yet there's still a perception within the organization that it's not having that kind of impact. Well, what if we shifted the way that we looked at our roles and considered if our paychecks were linked to gaining and retaining more customers, how might that alter the way that we approached designing and delivering training and all of the other programs that we're responsible for?
It's more than just a PR issue for us at this point. Because what we know about the value of what we deliver for an organization, why aren't others in the organization seeing the same thing we are? That's the disconnect that you just mentioned, Anil. And you think about what is it that our stakeholders, specifically C-level executives, are looking for. When asked, 74% said the measure they look for their learning programs is return on investment, or ROI. Only 4% of them are getting that measure. So what is it that we're doing that they're not seeing? Traditionally, those of us in learning, especially in training, we've used the ADDIE model for us to develop programs. For those of you who aren't familiar, ADDIE is a process doing an analysis. It's designing, it's developing, it's implementing, and then at the end, it's evaluating. What we might suggest is maybe the first thing we should look at is instead of having evaluate at the end, we should bring evaluate to the beginning. And I'll use a story from some of the work we did with General Motors. And at GM, I had a discussion with one of the operations managers who talked about a supplier of theirs who came to them and bid on a project. It was a 5-year project. I looked and said, they're definitely losing money on this. How can they afford to continue this? Well, he said when he had that discussion with the supplier, what the supplier told him was revolutionary at the time. Said, we know that we are going to lose money initially on this first year, but through continuous improvement and evaluation, we believe that in years 2, 3, and 4 we'll continue to make a profit, and by year 5 we'll make back everything that we expect. To me, that opens our eyes to say, is that not what we should be doing with our learning programs? Think about the evaluation and the line of sight. What is it that's actually achieving for the customer? If my paycheck depended upon gaining and retaining new customers, this is the approach I would want to take.
Absolutely, Peter. If we are able to really show that causal connection between the actions that we're taking and how that positively impacts the profitability, the productivity, the increase in customer loyalty to the organization, we'd almost guarantee that your CEOs, your CFOs, and all the other people in the C-suite are going to sit up and listen, because that's what every other part of the organization is doing. Why not us? So if you are not asking those kinds of questions, you should be. And if you don't know how to address them, you should probably talk to somebody that does. And it might as well be us.
And join us for our next webinar on the topic of line of sight.